Okay, so I watched this movie last night, and it was about a guy that only had seventh grade mental capacity, and it was a very big opening for me, and also a mechanism, I suppose, to help me to open up. And part of this show was this woman attorney who, in all appearances, seemed like she had it all together. She had her life figured out, lots of money and prestige and stuff. And then at some point, they played this Beatles song, which was about coming home. And I burst out into tears. I couldn't stop it. I'm not a big crier, but I really cried. And I woke up this morning feeling like I need to do a dump. I need to tell the world what a screw up I've been and all the things that I've done that's messed up. And I'm not sure why this impulse exists, but I just want to make sure that there are no pretenses, that there are no hidden agendas with me, that I see what I have messed up, and I want to go into this place of confession, of statement, and maybe later on I'm going to do the opposite. But I just want to let anybody who cares know that I have really messed up some stuff. And this is really, really hard for me because most of my life I've tried to stay positive. But I realized last night that there's a lot of stuff that I have that I've never talked about and never got into because I wanted to stay positive. I didn't want to present this side of me, but I feel like I need to get it out. And I'll get it out once or more, and then all the facade is gone. It's gone. Anybody who wants to know what a screw up I've been, they can just watch this video, and that's it. And I can watch it also and realize that I'm not all that and that I need to be more humble and more aware of myself and others. So I'm just going to go for it. And if it works for you, great. But the warning is that this is going to get kind of negative and it's going to be real open and raw. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, then just shut it off. Don't listen to this. So when I was young, real young, I had to go to the hospital because one of my testicles didn't come down. I didn't really know what this all meant, but all I knew is that I had to go into for surgery. And I found out later on that I only had one testicle and it shaped the rest of my life because I felt like I was only half a man, half a person, because everybody else had two. Not everybody, but everybody I knew. And then later on, there was this guy who was the boyfriend of my great uncle, that would come in the dark room when we were watching TV at my grandparents', and he would fondle me, he'd put his hands down my pants, and I kind of liked it. It felt good, and I didn't report it. I didn't tell anybody until I was later on, but I felt a lot of guilt for that. And the rest of my life, I've had this issue with my sexuality and the strong libido, even hypersexuality that I've felt all my life. And I'm not sure if it's because of that or what, it's just part of a genetic thing. But that one area of my life has caused me so much guilt and problems. I always felt like I was bad and wrong, that God looked at me with harsh judgments because of it, and that I was going to be condemned and sent to hell because I couldn't control it and it would keep happening and show up, and I needed to release, and I wanted to touch myself, and I wanted to look at pictures of women, and it never stopped. I feel like this is one trend that has shaped my life in more ways than I would like to admit. And I am sharing it right now. I'm ashamed. I'm guilty as charged. I have an issue with this. And that big God dude has been on me with guilt, or what I perceive as guilt, and I've never been able to be perfect and to be what I was supposed to be. I tried, and I was a people pleaser. I am a people pleaser. I tried to please my parents. And they really weren't ever satisfied, especially my dad. I tried to please God. I tried to please the church, and the church was never happy because they always wanted more from me, and God always wanted more from me because, that's what God is. He's just a judgmental prick that only wants me to be what he wants me to be. I screwed up a lot in relationships and in school. It was particularly bad when I got into junior high, and I didn't study. I was all over the charts with my head, and I didn't really learn good habits and homework. And then when we went to New Zealand, it got worse because I didn't have good habits, and I tried to fudge, and I tried to do stuff that would help me look better. One time I even came up with a scheme because my dad was my teacher. I figured out how to cheat on the tests by getting his book. And most of my life has been trying to impress and get women to like me. Chasing skirts, as they say. And I created all kinds of aberrations just so other people, and particularly women, would like me. I had this terrible experience in a way where I went to the University of Waikato, and the classes were so tough, and I had so many of them, and I really screwed this up. I had my first D, D minus, my first F, two Fs, and it looked really bad. And even when I got back to the US, I don't think I did that great. And um, I started, when I was on my mission, I started eating, and I was a skinny little runt. And that was one of my problems, because when I was a kid, I was at my grandma's house, and we went up on 11th Ave, and this kid, he wanted to fight me. Dougie was his name. And like an idiot, I tried to fake him out. I tried to give him like false punches like he cared. And he just beat the hell out of me. He scratched my face and knocked me down and kept punching me and hitting me. Gave me a black eye and scars on my cheek. And I think that shaped my life, that I realized that I couldn't fight. I was a pacifist, a wimp, and that I wasn't willing to stand up to people and to defend myself. And then I had kids, and I was so self-absorbed and indulgent. I didn't spend the time with them I could. And I drifted off from the church. I wanted something different, something better, and it was just pure selfishness. It was just me wanting to have women like me and develop my sexuality more and explore my possibilities. And I didn't give my kids the attention and the time that I could have. I screwed up in business too. I had a good little business, and then I started trying some new stuff. It didn't work. I tried to grow a business. I was losing money, and I was being too lazy. I didn't hustle. I didn't market myself. I didn't get after the fundamentals of making it work. And eventually, I completely blew up the business, and we had to shut down. And I lost, I think, $100,000 from the deal. I never really recovered. We had to sell the house and moved into a dumpy little apartment. And I put my wife and kids through my failures, not being able to figure out how to be a business guy and not being able to get a job. And so we lived in relative poverty for many years. And then we had the divorce, and that was the peak of my disgrace. And I left those kids for some other stuff and my wife, and after a while moved away. I was an absentee father, and they had some tough times. They didn't really have enough money, and they didn't have a dad, and was gone a lot. They kind of had to grow up by themselves with their mom, who was pretty great. So I abandoned the church, I abandoned my family, I abandoned myself. I never really figured out how to stop this insane judgment of myself, this self-persecution, self-degradation for all the mistakes I made. I got into audiovisual in the corporate space, and I made so many screw-ups. One time I coiled up this whole big coil of cable the wrong way. I didn't do over and under. I did it just like I used to do the hose. And it took me an hour. It was the wrong way. I messed up in a graphics position when I was working with John. They canned me off the job after a day or two of trying to set it up and put someone else in there. I didn't know what I was doing. I was inexperienced, and it took me 5 years before I even got reasonable revenue from that, because I didn't study and I didn't call in for work. I was out just doing other stuff, chasing skirts. In the meantime, my relationships were coming and going. I'd be good at the beginning and then fade out and stop taking care of the relationships, and probably be very critical of what was going on. And okay, great, this is another, oh, here's another view, lovely. So business was not my strong suit. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to do great, and it didn't really happen. In the meantime, the relationships were going on and off, and my kids were growing up a long ways away from me, and one of them, my daughter, she basically said fuck you to me and distanced herself from me and all my stuff. I guess I don't blame her in some ways. My other kids have been nice, but you know, I had this grand illusion that I could make something of myself, because I had the one bright spark in my life, which was that I figured out that I could talk, I could communicate, not talk. I could communicate with this beautiful source in the universe that I called the divine. It was actually 3 people that I chose to communicate with. It could have been more. Actually, it was more other times, but this was the only thing that kept me going, is that I could get in and ask some questions and they'd give me help. And that continues on to this day. But that whole grand scheme, that whole thing was kind of what got me away from the church, and my wife didn't want to participate with me in that space. She wanted to be in the church, and so that pretty much precipitated the divorce. And then since then, I've been on this wild, crazy path of trying to find myself and have this thing that people really can't figure out and like. It's very hard to reproduce and very hard to substantiate. So I'm out there, kind of alone, never been able to figure out how to create a happy, comfortable place for myself and for others. I'm fat, I'm overweight, I'm out of shape. I'm a bit of a buying addict. I like to buy lots of gear. There's lots of stuff. I have a lot of issues, as you can tell, and one of the biggest issues is just me and my approach to life and what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. So I think that's enough for now. I don't, I care too much about what you think, and I care too much about pleasing even the people listening to this. But I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to become authentic and genuine and figure things out and get over all this stuff in the past. I'm not doing great. Like it still came up big time last night. I'm there sitting there watching this movie, crying like a baby. And I have lots of insecurities. I have lots of feelings of self-doubt and worries about my future and about my ability to be healthy and strong and to develop relationships that are that way. And I've got this big fear of dying with nothing really to show for it, in obscurity. So there's my dump. That is the big dump. I don't particularly care what people think of me. I do, but I don't want to. I don't want to admit that I do. But here is my effort to let anybody who knows me or who cares that I'm a screw up and that I've messed up a lot of stuff. There's another side of this, but at least everything's out. There's nothing hidden anymore. You know my problems and what I've messed up with, and it's out there. It's done. Nothing hidden. It's all transparent. You can do with it what you want, and I'm going to try and figure out what I want to do with my life and see if maybe dumping will help me to clear out the air and start fresh. And have a good day. Bye. There's something else that I want to say here because it's important to me. And it is that I I sincerely want to apologize to anyone on this earth and beyond that I've hurt or upset or treated unkindly or offended. I didn't make my dad very happy when I left the church, and my mom. My siblings think I'm a crazy man. My kids know I'm crazy. I'm deluded. And they're mildly accepting of, you know, all this stuff that I've created. But I just want to ask for a little understanding and forgiveness for anything that I've done, which is a bunch, that would somehow make you feel less or has caused you consternation or problems or whatever it is. I sincerely want to um, correct and modify my behaviors so that I'm not in this business of hurting people or whatever it is that has occurred. There's probably a lot of people that I've been around that have walked away, have decided that they don't want to be around me anymore, and that's okay. And I get it. I'm I earned that. I earned that loneliness and that having some people leave me. I can't really apologize to my parents because they're both on the other side. But if any one of my relatives, my family, my friends, associates, my flings, anybody who's had any kind of connection or touch with me, I just want to apologize in this one big blanket apology and hope that I didn't hurt you too badly and that you're doing okay. And that's another part of this dump that I need to just apologize and let you know that I don't think my intention was to hurt, but if I did, and I probably did, then see if maybe we can clear this out. I'll try and clear it out for me, which won't be easy, but I'll try and clear it out for you by this apology. And yeah, let's move forward, and maybe I'll get out of the dump and get to a nicer place as a result of clearing the air. All right, thanks.